I'm so excited to have Caitlyn Burkhardt here with me today. She is a licensed massage therapist, a polarity therapist. She's a functional mobility coach and a breathwork facilitator, and probably more. And I'm so excited to have you here, Caitlyn. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for
Nice.
having me.
You are welcome. Today, this podcast release, and in just 2 days, so on Sunday, March 5th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, you're going to be offering a transformational breathwork workshop here at our yoga studio, but it's also going to be live streamed so that anyone can join anywhere in the world. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast today just to introduce our listeners to you and you to our listeners and learn more about what you're interested in. So I'm curious, can you first of all tell me how you got inspired to practice transformational breath work and or study transformational breath work?
Sure. In a nutshell, I basically was suffering from really chronic suicidal depression and nothing worked. I had been in therapy for like 25 plus years. I'd been on and off medication. And I had always taken really good care of myself, like physically. And so when I started to feel suicidal and sad again last year, I was like, this just doesn't make any sense. Like, I shouldn't be feeling indifferent about living. And so I decided to do something different. And I booked a retreat down in Costa Rica where I did ayahuasca. But they also offered us two breathwork journeys on the first day and the last day. And so that was my first experience with breathwork. And the second, like that, after that first class, I was so blown away with the results of it. I was like, I have to learn how to do this to give this to my clients.
Nice. Amazing. Can
Yeah.
you explain? There's a lot there. So I'll just start
I know.
off. Let me first dig back a little bit into at what point in your life was depression something that was apparent that you had? Like, are we going back to high school days? Are we going back to like 8 years old? When do you remember having that recognition that I have something that I'm trying to deal with here that's serious?
Yeah. Yeah. It started with eating disorders when I was like around 11. Um, and then my behavior started to also spiral. But the depression probably reached its peak in high school. And I was hospitalized for that and my eating disorders three times during high school.
Wow.
I was put into foster care because my behavior was so uncontrollable that my parents were like, we can't keep her home. I was engaging in very risky behaviors. I never did drugs, that wasn't my thing. But I was like hitchhiking and hanging out with pretty bad people
Yeah.
and just putting myself in harm's way like pretty regularly. And so depression and anxiety just became like a part of my life forever after that. I maintained therapy with two therapists, and it would kind of come and go. Like I would manage it and be like, okay, I need to make an appointment with my therapist. And then it would just, but it was never like gone, it was always there. And as an adult, I have suffered from adrenal fatigue, which is basically when like you have a nervous breakdown and your nervous system gets so overfried and overworked that your body kind of starts to shut down.
Yeah.
And I just decided back in 2022 like everything I've tried so far isn't working. Like, why don't I feel better yet?
Yeah.
So going to that retreat in Costa Rica, it is a place called Rhythmia. It's a medically licensed retreat, and they actually hold a lot of data on everybody that goes there.
Mm.
And one of the most interesting facts they told us is that they turn away 22 people a day from doing ayahuasca journeys, which is a pretty hardcore psychedelic plant medicine.
Yeah.
So they have to turn away people daily from there for whatever reason, medical or whatever. And those people, they gave them 5 nights of breath work instead. And all of them had the same exact outcomes and comparable experience that we all had taking the ayahuasca.
Yeah. It's
And I
powerful.
can attest to that.
Yeah. So you had the opportunity to participate in an ayahuasca ceremony, as well as then when you were not under the influence of the ayahuasca, you also underwent these breathwork sessions. And then if you were to make a comparison of the experiences from each, what were the pros and cons?
So the way that plant medicine and breath work, the way that they work on your brain is actually very similar
Mm,
because there's basically you have your amygdala, which is like your fear center of your brain that it holds a lot of your emotions, and then you have your logical center or prefrontal cortex. And normally they're not talking to each other. They're just like this one, the fear one is getting information first, and then this one, the logical one, gets information second. And when you're doing ayahuasca or plant medicine or breath work, what happens is those two parts finally converge.
mm,
And so you're kind of able to have a conversation with parts of yourself, like as a third party. So you can go back into a moment in your childhood and go, oh, I didn't have the capacity to handle this as a child because I wasn't in control. But now I'm an adult and I can see how this story no longer serves me. I'm
mm.
going to let that go right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing about plant medicine and breath work, the way that they're similar is they're deeply somatic. So it's a very visceral experience with both of them. However, with ayahuasca, you purge a lot differently. Like there's vomiting, there's pooping, um, and you're stuck. So when things start to get too heavy, you're stuck on that trip for like who knows how long, 6, 10, 12 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
And with breath work, you're much more in the driver's seat because you can just switch up your breathing and you can take a break if you need to and then go back into it when you're ready.
Are you open to speak about what your ayahuasca experience was like?
Sure. Um, I did 4 of them. Well, we started with breath work on the first night, and I didn't know it at the time, but I had 3 rheumatoid arthritis flare ups in my wrist, hip, and shoulder. Um, and it was to the point where I was limping. I couldn't lift my arm up, and I was kind of concerned. I'm like, how am I going to be able to do anything this week? How will I do yoga? And after that first breathwork class, all 3 of my flares were pretty much gone. And I
Wow.
was able, and they were gone forever, completely the next morning. So the next morning, I was fully functional, able to do yoga. It was like they never happened. Um,
That's
my,
amazing.
I,
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because what breathwork does is it makes you so alkaline temporarily that all of your cells become extra oxygenated, and disease really can't live in an alkaline environment.
Yep.
So it's like an incredible anti-inflammatory.
Nice.
And then on my ayahuasca journeys, what I discovered was, I mean, I discovered a lot of stuff, but like the first place we went to was back into the womb. And I learned that a lot of my depression wasn't in fact mine. It had been passed down to me generationally through the womb.
Yes.
And so I was able to purge that and get that out. But the thing that a lot of people mistake with things like ayahuasca is that it's going to make all of your problems go away. And it doesn't do that because my life, in fact, completely fell apart in the next 3 months after returning home from that retreat
Wow.
and
Because,
using breath work. Sorry, what were you going to
yeah.
say?
I was just gonna say, was it? Do you think that was a outcome of the work that you did during that retreat, or is it more just circumstantial things that occurred? Like, I don't know, I had to leave my apartment, I had to, or my house, or I lost my job, or like, do you think that those 3 months post that experience were because you were trying to get grounded after that experience, or like come to terms with what you felt and learned, or did it feel disconnected, like not necessarily connected to that?
It was 1,000% connected to it. And at the time, I was really confused because I was like, okay, well, my depression's gone. Like, life should be good now. But I actually ended up getting really sick with the rheumatoid and also PCOS. And I was running a massage therapist and personal training business up north, but I couldn't work because my hands would flare.
Mm,
What else happened? So I had to close my business. I was in so much pain. I couldn't take care of myself. But what that was teaching me was that I needed to make a change, basically.
yeah.
So, um, ayahuasca and even breath work, what they do is they change your frequency and your vibration. And so after I did all of that healing that week in Costa Rica, my entire vibration had changed and was different. Like you are, because you're your true self after you heal from things. And you can't remain well in the same environment that made you sick.
Good point.
So basically, what my soul and what my body was telling me was, you can't stay here anymore. You need to do something different. And I had always been wanting to move to Florida or California. And basically, the rheumatoid ended up pushing me down here because this is where my mom lives.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
I hear you. I've heard people say from the plant medicine experiences, like, be careful because like it can have this sort of effect of like what you experience. But I guess maybe don't need to be careful of that is that if you do make a positive change, that's a positive thing. But I can see where that can be fairly tumultuous to re-navigate or to navigate through that
Yeah.
territory. Yeah.
And they told us too, and to continue helping us integrate because it's like doing 20 years of therapy whenever you do something as hardcore as psychedelics. And it takes your brain a long time to kind of like reshape itself and reorganize. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why they call it integration after you do things like that.
Yeah.
And doing breath work regularly after that experience not only helps you kind of like readjust and rewire your brain, but it helps you take your own control back because a lot of people end up chasing plant medicine as a pill, like a magic pill. And I've actually done several more ayahuasca ceremonies and mushrooms. And they're not a pill. They're not a pill. They are a tool. They're like your teachers. And so what happens when you get taught something, you have to learn how to implement that into your life. Your teachers can't do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then, with transformational breath work, what are the main characteristics of this technique that make it, quote, transformational breath work?
Okay. So there's many types of breath work. The one that I'm going to teach us at the workshop a few different kinds. Like I'm going to teach people how to breathe for core stability and pelvic floor strength. There's ways to breathe to down regulate your nervous system, to up regulate your nervous system and balance your nervous system. Um, Transformational breathwork is under the umbrella of what is called conscious connected or conscious circular breathing. So, what that means is you are basically breathing in succession. Once one breath ends, another begins, and it's just continuous. So, what it does is it puts your body into a state of stress, but you're doing it consciously. So it's a little different. If you get a panic attack, your breath is controlling you and breathing you, and you're freaking out, right?
Mhm.
But if you go in to do transformational breath work and you're like, I'm going to breathe this fast on purpose, you're taking your control back and you're breathing the breath.
Yes. Got it.
So, the method that I use is a three-part breath that's all done through an open mouth. We basically breathe deep into the belly, up into the heart, and then the exhale just falls away. And there's a lot of things happening as you breathe that way continuously for 40 minutes.
Yes. That's so interesting because, we had an opportunity to host someone here teaching breath work, and it was under a different title. And it
Oh.
sounds like it was exactly the same thing as transformational breath work, just that somebody changed the name of it. Maybe there was
Mm-hmm.
like a trademark thing with it, or is that
Like,
is that something with this with the transformational breath work where it's like trademark, like you have to take a training under a trademarked transformational breathwork teacher to then be able to use the words transformational breathing?
maybe. Well, like Wim Hof, for example, is the
Mm.
same kind of breathing. So
Got it.
he's conscious circular breathing.
Yeah. That's cool.
Holotropic breathing,
Mhm.
that's also conscious circular breathing.
So holotropic and transformational is more or less the same.
There's some differences. So with holotropic breathing, you can either breathe through your nose or your mouth.
Hmm.
Sometimes they just use a two-part breath, so it might be like a big inhale and exhale. So the music I think is a lot more intense with holotropic. And they're longer. Holotropic breathwork sessions go for like 2 hours, and you're just breathing like that for 2 hours.
Wow.
And they'll use art. So a lot of times in the circles afterwards, they'll have people draw or paint, and talk and things like that to help like begin integrating from the breathwork journey.
Got it.
The way that I was taught, and I had two different trainings that I went through. I went through one with Rebecca Kordecki, and I went through a second one that was much more involved with breath masters based out of Bali.
Mm.
They basically taught us the art of a playlist. So the playlists that I create for these journeys are all done with intention and purpose. And the music itself will actually take you on a journey and support your journey with the lyrics and the vibes and the melodies, the harmonies. So I create a playlist for every single journey that I take people on. Um, and then there's also my facilitation. So while you're breathing, I am guiding you and saying things like, you are worthy, you are enough, and it's time to forgive that person that hurt you. It's time to forgive yourself. Keep going, you've got this. And that helps you to rewire your subconscious.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience with what is that called? I know there's like a specific term for it, like where the hands will like crab claw up. Like sometimes the extremities will get that like really intense cramping experience. Do you know what is that called? I know there's like
Yeah. Has that happened to you?
it has, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A little
um,
intense. Like it's a bit like, whoa.
a little lobster claw action.
What's gonna happen? Like, is my whole body gonna do this? What have you what has been your experience with that?
Yeah. So that is completely normal. It's called tetany. And the reason that that happens is it's because we are messing with the gas exchange. So basically, we're building carbon dioxide levels up in your body a little bit.
Mhm.
And we're constricting, the way that we're breathing is constricting all of your blood vessels. And so sometimes it will make people cramp. Um, but all it's not permanent, and if it's too much for some people, then I just tell them, so get off the ride, change up your breath, let your hands kind of come back, and then go right back in. Another reason cramping can happen during a breathwork journey is a vitamin deficiency.
Mm.
So if you're like dehydrated, um, it could be like magnesium, zinc, electrolytes. That can also add to any cramping that happens, but it's totally normal and it's not going to happen forever.
Got it. There's no ill health effects from having that happen.
No, it's really just because of your blood vessels being constricted. And then also, you can slow down too. So if people start to cramp too much and it gets too intense, instead of going, you can just slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that will kind of lessen the intensity of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. How do you explain the lessening of depression linked to going into a breath work session?
Okay. So our bodies, our bodies hold on to everything, whether we realize it or not. And even if you are in a situation that, let's say you're in like a frightening situation, or you're in a place and you're uncomfortable in that place, you might unconsciously hold your breath because you're uncomfortable in that place. While you're holding your breath and your diaphragm is constricting, you might even go like this with your shoulders to kind of protect yourself. um, all of those emotions are being can be stored in those places that you're constricting if you don't let them go. And what happens with trauma is the event is either so large that your nervous system hasn't been able to discharge it fully yet, or if it's complex trauma, it's just getting assaulted like consistently and you're not able to shake it off. So the way that breath work helps with depression is, or anxiety or insomnia or eating disorders or anything, it really comes back to getting back in your body and allowing yourself to really lean into that discomfort, and then you're able to grieve during the breath work. And your body, it has such a physical experience. Like there's shaking, there's vibrating, there's tingling. People cry. We do add in some yelling to get out any residual anger. Um, and that's how you free yourself with the breath.
Got it. Have you noticed, since it sounds like your first breathwork experience was a year ago, it sounds like maybe 2022, did you say?
Yeah, it was a little over a year ago. Yeah.
How has this year been practicing breathwork? What sort of ups and downs have you noticed, or has there been a leveling out?
Wow. So actually, my first weekend doing my training, it was on Zoom, and my dog died in the middle of the training. So he was with us on Friday, and then he was not there with us on Saturday. And I decided to go continue with the training.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I have a dog, so before I had a dog,
Oh,
when people told me about their pet passing, I didn't understand, and now I
mm,
understand. Yeah,
yeah.
big
It's
deal.
one of the worst days of your life.
Yeah,
I mean, it was horrible. It was
yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
But I'm grateful for the timing of it because I it happened during my training. And so I got two breathwork journeys that weekend. And being able to do breathwork on the day that he passed away and again the next day, I was able to move through so much of my grief.
Yeah.
And I could actually feel his energy with me in the room. That's how transcending breath work is, because you do go to an altered state of consciousness. You can reach the astral planes and these higher planes when you're doing breath work.
Yes. I
So it
agree
helped
with you.
me immensely.
The first time I did the breathwork class, like what you're explaining with the technique, I was amazed at how intense it was. Like I didn't
Yeah.
think I've practiced pranayama and I've been practicing pranayama for years. It's just a different type of technique. So when I went into the transformational style breathing, I just thought, I'll be fine. Like, what are they talking about? Why is everybody saying like, I mean, and yeah, it's amazing how
Yeah.
powerful it is. So then I didn't want to interrupt you though. I'm sorry. So after that experience and over this last year, is it something that you can do on your own, or do you have a deeper experience when you're facilitated by somebody or with somebody?
You can do it on your own. I actually did it by myself 2 days ago. And I was able to really work through some shit. And
I think I saw your Instagram post from that day. We were like, I was on the floor sobbing. And
oh,
then here I am on the beach, like,
rolling around in my own snot, like I was a mess. Yeah. But you know what? I was able to really get through something that day. And it's funny you asked me that, because I did, and I've done breath work by myself before, like that, a bunch of times to my playlists. And the music will kind of carry me. But it is so special to have another person there with you, for you, holding space for you, encouraging you, because I wanted to quit like a whole bunch of times. And so it would have been really nice to have another person there.
yeah,
Um, a lot of people I'm noticing, they get really shy and uncomfortable about doing this in groups because they're afraid of being vulnerable like that in front of strangers. And one thing I can tell you is the group environment adds this whole other layer of love and connection that we as people aren't getting in our lives anymore. And you really start to notice, like, oh, I'm not alone in my journey. I'm not alone in my struggles. People, look at this. People do actually care. Um, and it's just so beautiful. That's why I'm so excited to be doing this live in studio with you. I haven't been able to do a live group since August up in Boston.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yay. That's awesome, Caitlin.
And it's just a beautiful, you're kind of all in ceremony together. That's basically exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
And you're holding space for yourselves and each other. And to be vulnerable like that and to be brave like that with your other humans is just so incredibly beautiful. And I'm deeply grateful that I get to witness that kind of miracle in my work.
That's really neat, Caitlin. You made a comment that we don't, there's things in life that we aren't getting that we need, or at least that's what I understood that you were saying, is that like maybe there's certain elements that, I mean, obviously as a massage therapist, you're aware of how important touch is.
Mhm.
And we also, I think probably everybody in the globe right now is really aware of what isolation can do from a personal experience in relation to what happened with COVID, how that's
Right.
not super healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what are some of the things that you are witnessing in our current culture that you think we don't get enough of, in addition to maybe those two things that we mentioned, touch and sense of community?
Mm, I know. Touch is so huge too. In our culture, you know what? I feel like our culture in many ways is going kind of backwards a little bit. I think that cancel culture is actually pretty toxic. I think that it leaves like no room for error in people. And so people are now afraid to speak up for fear of being ridiculed or punished. It also tells us that we have to be perfect. We're not allowed to make mistakes. And of course we are. Like that's what we're supposed to be doing here in life, is making mistakes and learning from them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's a good
I
point.
think, yeah, the other thing I think is, aside from what we just said, like emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, I think critical thinking has kind of gone out the window in the last couple of decades. um, our educational system, I feel, has really made us more of like memorizers.
Yeah.
Like, we're not taught to think for ourselves. We're taught to be controlled, sit there, don't say anything, don't argue with the teacher, don't argue with your boss. And it's like, sometimes they're wrong though. Or like, what if there's a gray area here? We're not allowed to even talk about it. And so I think critical thinking skills and the ability to receive and be open to other people's opinions without getting like fired up about it or triggered, that's something else I think we all need to work on.
Yeah. Great points. And even while you're talking about that, it made me think about the Chat GPT. Are you hip to that?
With that.
Chat GPT is an AI technology that now, for example, you have to write a paper in school. So you go into Chat GPT and say you have to write a paper about mockingbirds. So you just write in mockingbirds. What are the traits of a mockingbird? And the AI takes all of the information from the entire internet world, and it will write a paper for you about the mockingbird. And then you can hit the reset button and it'll completely rewrite a whole new thing, so that no two papers are the same. They're trying to outlaw it in New York now because kids in school, I mean, like, remember back in the day when we had to read a book and write a book report? Like,
Yeah.
that's just like out the door now. Totally out the door. I mean, so on some levels, I agree with you because I watch with my own children in terms of what they have to do for schooling and the memorization process. It's grueling for them. It's so, I mean, I understand that we need to study in the process of using our brains, and memorizing something is a good thing for mental development. So I'm 100% in favor of memorization, but I agree with you also a lot that it's just become rotely memorization, all memorization. So,
Yeah.
but the Chat GPT element is phenomenal. And I mean, even what we need to start paying attention to now, even as people are using social media, is that you can go in and you can have Chat GPT write your social media posts for you. So now, instead of actually being a human being and writing what
Mm.
your thoughts and feelings are, you can go in and say, write about transformational breath work on ChatGPT, and it'll write this really awesome little paragraph for you. And you can just copy paste, put on your social media, and boom. So it's, from what I understand from all the social media people, what they're saying is that it's actually cool because you can just build up what you already have. Like you can use it to help add into what you're trying to do, but
Huh.
in essence, it's allowing for us to never actually be human. Like, we don't even have to like write down our thoughts or express our thoughts anymore. Hence why I do believe something like this medium of where we're actually having a conversation, like, we're not able to type into the computer and say, here, speak for me and act like me and ask you the next, you know what I mean? Like, we're still
Right.
using our brains right now, but
Right.
I don't know. It's crazy. I didn't want to take us too far off into the weeds over there, but
I've never even heard of that.
yeah, check it out. I think if you go online and type in open AI or open source AI, something like that, it's totally free, but eventually they're going to charge you to use it. But anyway,
Yeah.
um,
The other thing I think we're missing is our sense of agency. And the in my brand, what I'm trying to build or attract is I'm trying to attract people who are willing to do their work, to become healthier, to become more emotionally regulated, to become more successful in their lives. I feel like we just give our power away so freely to the medical community, to the pharmaceutical industry, to the government. And I'm not trying to sound like a wacko conspiracy person, but like, it's like when you go to the doctor for complaints, like I went to the doctor for my rheumatoid and they like didn't do anything aside from run like 4 blood tests and then just offer me pills. And to be honest with you, I have not once taken one pharmaceutical medication for my rheumatoid. I have done all of my own treatment with trauma release, nutrition, and movement.
Mm,
And it's going away on its own.
that's cool. I'm glad you're
And
bringing that up.
when, you know what I mean? Like if
Yep.
people are constantly seeking somebody else to fix their stuff,
Yes.
where does that get you?
It's a great point. And I like that you used the word agency. And I just came across that from reading Gabor Mate's work. Are
Love
you hip to?
him.
Oh, I figured you had to already be reading him based on everything you've already said. But isn't he amazing?
Yeah, he's in ayahuasca too,
Yeah. I just
and
read
mushrooms. Yeah.
the Myth of Normal by him. Have you read his new book, The Myth of Normal?
It's on my list, but
Okay,
I'm
cool.
very aware of his
What,
book. Yeah, I
what,
love him.
what about The Body Keeps the Score? I have not read that one yet. Have you read that?
Yeah, I've read that one.
What are your thoughts on that book? Someone else told me they said I keep that book by my nightstand. Like, so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That helped me a lot actually with yeah, with just understanding everything and how we and it made me understand too like why regular psychotherapy never worked for me.
Mm.
You can't explain your pain away. Like if my dog dies, I can't just say to myself, well, get up. Of course you're sad. Your dog died. So just stop being sad about it. I have to grieve. I have to cry. I have to sob and wail because that's how it's going to get out of my body. You know what I mean?
I
And so
do. Yes.
yeah, like the body keeps the score. It gives you such a better understanding of how trauma affects our bodies and our minds and how you need to get both of them together in order to fully release it.
How has your understanding of trauma aware approach in relation to your body work and or your own healing process evolved in the last few years?
Wow, I feel like becoming a polarity therapist was really the thing that changed how I viewed massage and touch
Can you
and
explain
intention.
polarity therapy? Because I keep seeing that. I don't really know what that is.
Wow. I think I'm going to try to put together a polarity workshop that maybe I can
Cool.
do it at your place too because
That,
nobody knows what it is and it's like the best kept thing.
that'd be great.
Um
How do you explain it?
Polarity therapy, I'll tell you the history about it, but it was developed by an osteopathic chiropractor, Randolph Stone, back in like the 60s. So it's not that old. He basically was getting tired of treating people and them not getting results. So he traveled the world like 16 times and he just trained hardcore with like every guru in Asia, India, Western doctors, everybody. And he pulled aspects from Buddhism and Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and yoga and put it all together into one thing. So the pillars that we use in polarity therapy, and it is considered an energy medicine, is we use dialogue or counseling. Then we have a body work component. And then we also have nutrition and movement because you need to do all of those things to create change in somebody's life in their field. And one of our things in there is giving people back their agency through dialogue.
Very cool. Good
Yeah.
explanation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a really hard thing to explain,
Well, yeah.
but
Are there the four pillars you said? So diet and movement. Are those each a
uh-huh.
separate one? And then you said dialogue, agency. What was the agency through dialogue? What was the fourth one?
Body work.
Body work. And then in relation to the body work element, uh, what type of body work? Anything and everything? Just touch in general, or does it have a specific focus in relation to like deep tissue, or more like craniosacral style, like light, really light touch? Is there like some specific body work method or technique that's utilized?
There is, so we utilize several different kinds of touch based on Ayurveda. So we have Rajasic, Tamasic. Is any of this familiar because of yoga?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So we
Rajasic
have,
is like the high energy. Tamasic is the low. Sattvic in the middle. Lucid, clear.
yeah. So with our touch, and even with our dialogue, like those three gunas are kind of like in everything that we do. So in the communication piece, for example, depending on who you are or what you're going through, you might need me to be Tomasic when I'm speaking to you. You might need me to be like, listen, Todd, you said you wanted to get more inner peace, but here you are doing X, Y, and Z. So, or that might not resonate with you. I might need to be more Sattvic with you and say, like, okay, I'm hearing that you're struggling with this, and how can we get you to where you want to be? And it's the same thing with our touch. So like Tamasic, we use kind of like a deeper touch. Sattvic is like very light, comforting, and then Rajasic is very like stimulating. And depending on what pressure points or five elements that I'm working with, or what your field tells me, like no session is ever the same. um I kind of just implement whatever your field wants me to do.
Very cool. What type of training did that entail? Was that like an in-house studio, in-person training, online training? How does that work?
That training was both. So I did the Zoom for a lot of lectures, but then we also had two or three in-person practicums where we could really get more hands-on. I work pretty closely with my instructor, Brian, and I might be a teacher's assistant for his upcoming class. And it's kind of like a bachelor's degree in medicine. Like I'm
Wow.
not even done.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
completed like level 1. I still have 2 more years to go.
Got it. Yeah, it's an intense program.
Yeah.
That's good. I was just thinking too, when you mentioned nutrition, I mean, that's such a huge subject in and of itself. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that it's not like it's like a single weekend and then all of a sudden I'm like a master nutritionist, body worker, counselor, and physical fitness instructor all in one day. Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
something that obviously takes some time to harness.
Yoga actually complements it like super, super well. So like the movement component, and a lot of it is esoteric, and you can kind of make it your own thing. So like I'm nutrition certified through, sorry, my dog.
It's all right.
Um, I'm nutrition certified through Precision Nutrition. And so a lot of the concepts that I use with nutrition are based on that. Sometimes I might tell somebody like, okay, like to support your water element, I suggest you eat like watery foods like cabbage or lettuce.
Yes.
But you can kind of make all of that your own thing. He does use yoga movements and poses to also support people's energy shifts.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned functional mobility training and or that you coach people in that world of fitness. What is your preferred, or maybe you you like to utilize a ton of different approaches, but do you have a preferred method of working out, exercising?
Yeah, I lift.
Yeah.
I lift weights. I
You're a
lift heavy
weightlifter.
stuff.
You're a heavy weightlifter.
Yeah.
How did that,
Um,
where did that come in?
Weightlifting actually was like the first thing to get me on my healing journey, believe it or not. The thing about weightlifting is you learn so much about life. And this has been scientifically proven, actually. Like, there's studies that show a heavy crossover between people who do resistance training and how it teaches them discipline, self confidence, consistency, resiliency, and even body awareness. Because I always check in with myself like, okay, how is my body today? Do I have it in me to go for this personal record? Or do I need to like stay where I'm at?
Yeah. Cool.
And when you lift like 400 pounds, you can't help but feel like a total badass.
Yeah.
And that's going to come out in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I I like that because in the yoga world where we can get really clicky and snobby, kind of like maybe a weightlifter might be like, I'm not doing yoga. Or a yoga person might be like, I'm not doing weights. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that you brought up that you can learn a lot about yourself. And it makes sense because no matter what we do physically, if we're like really getting into the dynamic of physics and the experience of like getting our mind and body connected to actually pull the sport off that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
I can see where like obviously whether you're a skateboarder, surfer, figure skater, weightlifter, yogi, gymnast, like it kind of all does have the same essence in a way. Would you agree?
Yeah. I love yoga too. I do yoga.
Right.
I do. Yeah. I've done yoga there with you guys. I love yoga because it allows you to get into your body in a different way than strength training.
Yeah.
It allows you to be soft with yourself, um, and to listen more to like pieces of your body. And actually, in The Body Keeps the Score, he strongly recommends that people do yoga, especially people who are disassociated from their bodies,
Got it.
because it will help bring you back to that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That book is on my list, like maybe two or three books away. So I can't wait to do that one.
So many books, right?
So many books.
So many books.
Not enough time.
Not enough time.
Wouldn't it be great to like just win like a 1 week lottery? And then like and they said like the only way you can cash this 1 week lottery chip in is you have to read for the whole week. Like you got to read 8 hours a day from that would be like that'd
Right?
be like a dream come true for me. Yes. Yeah.
Didn't Bill Gates say something like, if I could have one superpower, it would be to absorb information from books in seconds?
Oh man, right? I knew
I'd be down
somebody.
for that.
I had a massage client that I was told prior to working with him, don't ask him any questions because he knows everything. And I thought,
Oh,
oh, that's such a egotistical outlook on life. And so I he was a very wealthy individual. And so I decided, let me I'll abide, I'll play by the rules. So I just didn't say anything. And during the sessions, the TV was on, there was a newspaper and the telephone. And so he would be like listening, reading, and then taking phone calls all during. And so at first I was turned off. I was kind of like, geez, because sometimes as body workers, we're like, this is a chance for you to actually turn off all of that extreme
right.
stuff and actually pay attention to like what you're feeling. And right. So I'll think like that's maybe the ideal. And but then when he started to ask questions and the doorway opened up, and then I started to ask questions, he actually is one of the smartest people I'd ever met in terms of knowing information about everything. I couldn't even believe it. Like, and I realized like the guy wasn't joking when he said to me, "Don't ask him anything," because he's already read about it. So I'm not saying that that's my deal. I mean, that's a little intense. I want to try to be present and not always engaged in, my mind somewhere else. But I just thought that was interesting.
But you know what? Like, here's something that one of my coaches told me.
Yeah.
So, like, if this is everything there is to know in the whole universe, right?
You're holding up a circle on a piece of paper because some of this will be
Yeah. So I'm
audio.
just,
Some people might not be watching us, but I just wanted to, I'll narrate the visual.
yeah. So here's
As we
my
go.
circle. Here's everything in the whole universe to know. And then we have what we know that we know here.
A little circle inside the circle.
Yeah. So, like, I know that I know how to give a massage. I know that I know how to ride a bike. Then we have what we don't know, or what we know that we don't know.
Slightly bigger circle inside the circle.
So I know that I don't know how to give brain surgery.
Yeah.
I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. Then we have all of this. Here is everything that we don't even know that we don't know. You know what I mean? So for that guy, even though he's super smart, he
Yes.
doesn't know.
It
He doesn't
still
even know what he doesn't
it
know.
still doesn't. Yeah. Great answer, Caitlin. And I like the visual. I like that you pulled out a nice blue marker as well. You got some color going.
Yeah. He doesn't even know.
Yeah, so rule number one, never say, don't ask me a question, because I already know the answer. It's just that's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, why aren't you open to receiving new information?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
how do you know what you know is true or correct?
Well, good, great point.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. Well, on that line of thinking, when you're feeling like, I mean, I'm just gathering based on what you've said to me, and then I've also, I've had my bouts with depression, so I feel like I can relate.
Mm.
So when you're in those
Mm.
dark nights of the soul moments where
Yeah.
those questions are
Yeah.
coming up, what do I even know? How do I even, you know what I mean? Where you're really in this weird place of like questioning everything.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. What is your current technique for reeling yourself back in? I know you gave me tons of different things that you're doing, and I love that. Like your life has informed your career choices in relation to learning and teaching, body work, breath work, physical fitness, and training for polarity therapy. But like for some of us, like questioning and becoming aware of all the things that we don't know, sometimes it almost gets overwhelming and we don't need to even think about anything. Like, don't ask any
Totally.
deep questions when you're in that place, right? Like,
Yeah.
what have you noticed with all that?
I feel like my best friend said this to me once. She was like, there is a very fine line between spirituality and insanity.
Mm,
And I feel like I ride that line every day. When I think about like all the stuff that I know now, even about myself, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of stuff to know. I kind of wish I didn't know it, but I can't unknow it. Um,
good point.
and then you're like, man, I don't even, why are we here? Who put me here?
Yeah,
What's out there? Who's out there? Well, I don't know. It's too much. So I get it. I get very overwhelmed too.
yeah. Cool. Well, it seems like you're in a pretty grounded place right now, though.
I'm trying, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying to do a lot, you know. I moved down here a year ago. So I'm restarting my whole business up from scratch.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody down here, and so I am like so extremely grateful for you extending this opportunity to me.
cool, Caitlin.
Like truly, I'm so excited and deeply grateful.
All right. Well, heard.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being here now and for sharing. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I liked
Yeah,
all
me
and
too. Yeah.
thank you. So and on that note, we're coming in close on our hour mark, and I know we both scheduled in about an hour to chat with each other. And so I'm super excited to have you here. That you listening, if you want to join in, you'll see the link on our website, nativeyogacenter.com. You'll see on there transformational breathwork workshop with Caitlyn Burkhardt. So it should be pretty easy. Anything you want to leave us with, Caitlin? Any other comments,
Yeah.
thoughts? Yeah, please.
Um, well, in addition to offering all of these things that I do here in Florida, I am also launching a retreat business of my own because I felt like after going to several retreats, there was just some things that I loved and didn't love, and about each one. Even the one in Costa Rica, like super great, but it was way too structured, and I would have liked to have a little more downtime. So I'm starting my first retreat up in April in Cape Cod in Boston. It's 3 days, 2 nights. We're going to be offering body work with energy work, nutritious organic food, mobility workshops, breath work journeys. There's also going to be some psilocybin. Um, what else? I have several workshops planned to give people back their agency and how to take care of themselves better moving forward after the retreat. But my goal is to really just like blow people's minds and help them find their way back to themselves so that they can live a fuller life.
Nice, Caitlin. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
I'm so
right.
excited for this workshop.
Well, that sounds amazing. I know you said that that retreat information is going to be on a separate website that will be available very soon. Remind me the name of your current website.
My website's name is Bodacity Sport and Soul, giving you the bodacity to transform your life, but it's spelled Bodacity, sport and soul. Um, yeah, I'm really
Cool.
happy to be there and
Awesome.
maybe meet some people and change some lives.
Cool, Caitlin. Well, thank you so much, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, I'll see you Sunday. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.